All Gummed Up, a satirical comedy by Harry Wagstaff Gribble. The year is 1921. We are in the home of Dr. George Bartlett, a liver specialist. He is asleep in his consulting room.
7 o'clock, Mr. Bartlett.
Huh?
7 o'clock.
What? What?
I said 7 o'clock, sir.
Morning or evening?
Evening?
Well, have I had my supper?
Yes.
Well, I'm still hungry. How do you account for that?
It's your liver.
You can't tell me anything about my liver.
If I could, I should be the liver specialist and you my assistant instead of vice versa.
Huh. My wife's going to the theater tonight, isn't she?
Yes. And you're going with her.
Oh, who said so?
She did.
She's usually right.
Her choice is excellent, sir. With a few exceptions.
Like theaters. She likes those noisy plays that won't allow one to sleep.
It would take several brass bands to keep you awake.
Well, what's the use of keeping awake? Nothing ever happens nowadays.
Doesn't it? You're too sleepy to notice anything.
What do you mean?
Did you ever realize that people suffer from love as well as from liver?
Oh, who the dickens is in love?
Keep awake and you'll find out.
Oh, Minter, do you know why I continue to employ you?
Because I continue to stay with you, sir.
You haven't mentioned leaving.
I shouldn't mention it. I should simply go.
I think you had better go. You're getting too fresh.
What time for breakfast?
Breakfast won't concern you.
Oh, it never does. I don't take it. What time for yours?
Oh, Minter, you're discharged. Here's your salary.
We'll say 8 o'clock.
You mean that you refuse to be discharged?
You'd better get dressed for the theater, sir.
Oh, Minter, you are almost impertinent. And try to remember the difference in our stations.
There's the doorbell. Will you answer it?
Why, what do you mean?
That's the difference in our stations.
Life would be very pleasant and peaceful if it were not for Minter. But he's an evil necessity.
A lady to see you, sir?
I'm not consulting, it's after hours.
Sorry, too late. Here she is.
Oh, huh. How do you do?
How do you do?
The lady is not a patient, sir.
You can go, Minter.
Sorry I spoke. I thought I'd put you wise.
I'm waiting.
All right, but don't forget, it isn't liver, it's love.
Please pardon this exhibition of ignorance. I'm getting rid of him shortly.
Oh, please don't. He's such a nice fellow. So handsome and so alert.
Well, he's very alert in answering the doorbell, but he can't even do that without boasting about it.
Well, he understood me at once. I know it's a scandalous hour to call on you, but I told him that it was a very important matter, and he showed me in.
Well, what can I do for you?
Well, of course, you know my husband.
Well, I haven't even had the pleasure of knowing you as yet.
My name is Tremaine. My husband is Geoffrey Tremaine, the musician.
Oh, yes, I believe my wife took me to hear him sing one day.
No, play the piano. He's a very fine pianist.
Well, my impression was that he sang. Perhaps someone else did. Music always confuses me.
Well, it was about Geoffrey that I came to see you.
Ah, quite so. Pianists are frequently troubled with liver complaints, chiefly owing to the sedentary life they lead. He should take a course in dancing, and after every sixth scale or arpeggio or whatever, should do a buck and wing or a little Russian ballet. If you had time, you could shimmy with him. That would be better still.
Oh, no, his liver is perfectly all right.
Well, then your husband cannot interest me, madam. I specialize in the liver solely.
Well, he is sound as a bell physically. It's his mental condition I want to talk to you about. You see, he's desperately in love.
Don't do anything for it. It will cure itself.
Well, perhaps you think he's in love with me. Not at present. Just now, he's in love with your wife.
Ah, well, that's a perfectly natural and healthy sentiment. My wife is a very attractive girl, and anyone who is immune to her beauty would probably be suffering from some liver complaint.
Then you have no objection to their affection for each other? Well, I'm so glad. Yeah.
Their affection? I was not aware that my wife reciprocated the attachment.
No, I thought not. Well, she does.
Well, there must be some mistake. My wife is always most confidential, and she hasn't even mentioned the matter.
Well, Jeffrey is very straightforward with me. He's a very straightforward boy. He never lies to me, and he wouldn't tell me if it were so, if it wasn't true.
Well, what is the program? Do I blacken your husband's eye, or do you tear my wife's hair out?
It was to avoid just these very things that I came to see you. My husband is coming to call on you, and I want you to promise not to injure him in any way. I shall behave wonderfully to your wife.
But shouldn't we be committing a social error by taking it so calmly?
The only way for us to cover up their social error is by committing one ourselves. Besides, why should they corner all the publicity? We should create a sensation by remaining perfectly calm.
You seem to be quite certain that you and I could make a good partnership in this affair. I hope your proposals are strictly businesslike.
Oh, absolutely. Don't you see that directly we introduce emotion, we lose our calm? In fact, our calm is essential to balance their emotion.
Well, you have somewhat relieved my mind.
Well, of course, we could have a little intrigue on the side just to amuse ourselves and to complicate matters for them.
I begin to be frightened again.
Please retain your calm. I wouldn't have suggested it in an intrigue had I not thought I could trace an element of sport in you.
My dear lady, did you ever hear of a sporty liver specialist?
No, I never expected you to be like this.
Oh. Well, if we enter into this agreement, we do it for the sake of our respective conjugal partners, not for each other's, nor for our own.
Oh, absolutely. It's entirely unselfish.
My wife, Gloria, is a very delightful girl. And the only reason I specialized in livers was to be able to shower her with the fees from my wealthy liverish clients.
Well, that's nothing. I have sued every streetcar company and several of the railroads for self-inflicted sprained ankles and obtained damages in each case merely to provide Jeffrey with European musical vacations.
What a noble woman. We certainly have something in common.
Oh, you're quite different from what I expected.
I think you are the first woman who has really interested me, except Gloria.
Well, you are almost the only man who has ever attracted me, except Jeffrey.
What was it in me which suggested to you sport or intrigue?
Oh, now you're getting inquisitive.
Very inquisitive.
Well, I'll tell you, it's in your eye.
Oh, really?
Yes. It's more in the way you look at a person. You seem to search out their very liver. Soul.
I'm trying to search you now for your idea of an intrigue.
You're dying to be a sport.
Well, it isn't the intrigue itself, it's your idea of one that interests me.
Then I'll tell you. For a long time, I've been looking for someone to share with me a secret passion. I believe you are the person.
Oh, you amaze me.
It's no ordinary passion. The famous sirens, Adventuresses and vampires never experienced a desire such as mine. Their cravings were, by comparison, as a child's longing for sweets.
I I really think I had better back out.
Oh, please don't. The force of my cravings is all in the desire. The object is very simple, merely gum.
Gum?
Yes, chewing gum. Plain, ordinary gum will do, but I delight in the fancy kinds, the refreshing spearmint, the sensuous clove, the juicy tutti frutti. Oh, my husband knows of my passion and thwarts me at every turn. He won't even have a piece of gum in the house. He would rather I elope to Honolulu with a bartender than to chew one little morsel of gum. But now that he is seeking his independence, don't you think my emancipation is justifiable?
Why, yes. And the amazing coincidence is just this, that I too have the same craving and am thwarted by my wife in the same manner.
I knew I had come to the right man. Directly I saw you, I knew you were my chewing gum mate.
I'm almost afraid to show this to anyone. I've kept it hidden for so long.
Oh, how marvelous! Give me some.
Be careful. Gloria might come in at any moment, and then there would be a terrible scene.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, what do we care for Gloria or Jeffrey or anyone? Let's be rash. Let's just abandon ourselves to our delight. Oh, what rapture.
Oh, it has a wonderful thrill, doesn't it?
This publicity will never do. We must meet in some secret place. What about the subway?
Well, you're right. There is no secrecy like the secrecy of a crowd.
A long trip. Just you and I and our gum. Say, to the Bronx Zoo?
Mm. Oh, no. The animals stare so. And they always remind me of my aunts at a prayer meeting.
Well, then, Van Cortlandt Park.
It shall be.
Better break away. The third party is here.
How dare you interrupt without knocking?
For the simple reason that if I had knocked, he would have known that you were here. I wanted to warn you. You'd better beat it. I think he has a gun.
Oh,
A lawfully wedded husband.
oh, well, show him in.
What?
Show him in.
On second thought, I'll take my salary. And here's my gun.
Oh.
Goodbye.
Are you nervous?
Of Jeffrey? Not now that you know my secret.
Mr. Tremaine, sir.
Well,
How do you do? Henrietta, what is the meaning of this?
Oh, Jeff, you bad boy. You've come out without your overcoat.
Oh, it's all right. I'm holding it for him.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Mentor.
Oh, not at all. I'm delighted to do anything for you.
oh, Minter, you can go.
I know it.
Well, please be seated, Mr. Tremaine.
No, thank you. Henrietta, what are you doing here?
Oh, Mrs. Tremaine had the goodness to call on me with reference to her liver.
Well, that's not true. She has no liver.
Oh, there, that would make her still more interesting.
Well, Henrietta, you're chewing.
A little dear.
How disgusting. Mr. Bartlett, I must apologize for my wife.
Not at all. You find me in the same condition. In fact, I gave it to her.
Henrietta, you had better leave me alone with Mr. Bartlett.
Oh, where shall I wait?
Oh, please stay. All the other rooms are so drafty.
Oh, I don't mind the drafts. I'll go and talk with Mr. Mentor. Now, Jeff, take care of yourself, and Mr. Bartlett, don't upset him, will you?
My wife leaves me in a very awkward position.
Well, sit down and make yourself comfortable.
I don't wish to be comfortable. I have a very serious matter to discuss.
Huh. Well, quite so. I'm always more serious myself when I'm uncomfortable.
I hope you will not make fun of me. This is a very difficult situation. What was my wife telling you?
About what?
About me and my affairs.
Oh, she said you sold pianos.
No, sir. I play them.
Oh, well, I knew you did something with them.
Was your wife's name introduced?
In connection with the pianos?
No, in connection with me.
Oh, huh. Well, now let me see.
Well, if my wife tried to influence you in any way with regard to a matter which she knows I intend to put to you, I warn you not to let it have any weight.
Oh, well, of course not.
Because, sir, I am adamant.
Are you? Would you like a cigar?
No, thank you.
A cigarette?
No, thank you.
Well, how is the piano game?
What piano game?
Well, the piano game in general.
Look here, Mr. Bartlett, you are evidently in the dark as to my mission here.
A man of your charm needs no mission.
I have one just the same. I think you will admit to yourself, if not to me, that you are by nature, profession, and temperament entirely unsuited to your wife's society.
Oh, absolutely unsuited.
I'm glad to find you honest about so personal and yet so obvious a matter.
We married men should be very thankful to be unsuited to our wives. A woman sticks to a man that she can't understand.
Are you sure?
Unless someone else understands him.
I think I understand you.
You're very clever. I don't understand myself.
Do you understand your wife?
Oh, heaven forbid. She is the greatest study of my life.
Perhaps again I am clever. I think I understand Gloria.
Well, you are accustomed to intricate mechanism. The piano must be very complicated.
Are you comparing Gloria to a piano?
Oh, a piano has its limits. Gloria has none.
She has reached her limit, Mr. Bartlett.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Has she exhausted all the plays and cabarets?
Ah, that is your idea of Gloria. Well, you have simply a superficial knowledge of her appetites. Let me tell you, you haven't begun to study her soul. And while you have been neglecting her, I have studied and understood her soul.
Oh, how interesting. Would you mind putting your result on one of my diagnosis forms?
Don't joke about this, Bartlett. This is a serious matter. Yes, to be brief, we are so suited to each other that it would be almost criminal for us to remain separated.
Who, you and I?
No, your wife and I.
Oh, yes.
In fact, it is essential for us to be together to fulfill our destiny. It would be useless for you to oppose us, for we should simply elope.
Oh, yes, I remember now. Your wife mentioned something of the sort.
She did.
And then we began discussing a more important matter, and it passed out of my mind.
Is your wife's future not an important matter?
Well, it is so important to have had a good past, and so interesting having a good present, that the future is bound to take third place.
Do you mean to say that you're countenancing my proposal?
Well, you said it was useless for me to oppose you.
You have no objections to a man coming into your house and taking your wife from under your very nose, a perfect stranger?
Well, I know nothing against you. You seem a nice, clean-cut fellow. If I knew you better, I might have some objections to you.
Why, this is preposterous. It's outrageous. It's absolutely immoral. Surely you will put up some fight for your wife.
Well, Minter loaned me his revolver to defend myself against you. Now, I never used one of these things. Do you know how they work?
Are you trying to make an ass of me?
No, 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 I assure you. If it is the proper thing to do, I will shoot you. Where would you like to be shot? You see, if I kill you, you will be of no further use to Gloria. On the other hand, if I wound you severely, you again will be out of luck because Gloria is an atrocious nurse.
Why, I never heard anything as abominable in my life. I shan't waste another moment here. I shall go and fetch Gloria and take her away from you at once.
Well, try to be back by June 20th, will you? I always take Gloria to visit my aunts at French Lick. She amuses them while I give them a liver treatment.
I've tried hard to control myself, Bartlett, but your utter contempt for the common decencies, your lack of appreciation of your wife, and your general unsoundness of mind are more than I can bear. Let me tell you that of all the inane idiots I have ever met, I have never in my life.
Excuse me, Mr. Tremaine. Sir, but Mrs. Tremaine says not to strain your voice, as you have to lecture tomorrow. Also, don't bang your fingers on the table, as that will spoil your touch.
Minter, what the devil are you doing out there with my wife?
Oh, I was telling her of my troubles since I started taking care of other men's wives.
Oh, get out. Good evening, Minter.
Good evening. Don't forget about the voice.
Georgie, it's time to start for the theater. Why, Jeffrey, how are you? Darling, you aren't ready, and you know I like to hear the overture. He's a terrible trifle, Jeffrey. I'll never be able to train him.
Gloria, come away from your husband.
From Georgie? Why? Oh, I see. Georgie, I see you've been chewing gum. How bad of you. Throw that horrible stuff away.
Yes, dear.
Gloria, what do you mean by this familiarity with that man? Do you realize why I came here tonight?
To meet him, I suppose. Have I interrupted a consultation? Oh, I'm so sorry. Jeffrey, there's nothing wrong with your liver, is there?
Do you suppose I should come to your husband about my liver?
I can't think of anything else you would want to see him about.
Not even about you?
Well, my liver's all right, isn't it, Georgie?
Have you gone out of your senses, or are you trying to fool me? Because it won't work. I tell you, it won't work.
Whose liver won't work? Georgie, who's ill? What's the trouble?
I think you have forgotten an appointment you had with Mr. Tremaine.
Oh dear, have I?
He seems to think that you made an agreement to elope with him.
Oh, well, that's perfectly true. I did. Yes, dear. We had a long talk. The other evening, we decided it would be quite the latest thing for us to do that. When shall we start, Jeffrey?
Heavens above, am I really the only honest person left? Am I to stay here and listen to a wife tell her husband that she is going to elope with me?
Well, Jeffrey, I'd have told him before, but I forgot.
I think you are the most impossible people I ever met. I wouldn't elope with you if you went on your knees and begged me to. You aren't worthy. And as for you, Bartlett, you're a hip-pant hypocrite.
Your liver must be in a wonderful condition. Would you let me use you as a standard type in my new book?
No, I absolutely refuse. Jeffrey isn't standard. Everything about him is original, and I'm sure his liver is no exception. What have they been trying to do to you, Jeffrey?
Oh, leave me alone, Henrietta. Are you trying to make a fool of me too?
How could you ask such a thing? Have I made a fool of you, Jeffrey? That's very unkind of you.
I must apologize for my wife. Through a lapse of memory, she omitted to mention the fact that she was about to elope with your husband. She has upset his plans, and he refuses to reconsider the matter.
Well, and I don't blame him. He is a sensitive nature, and though big things might slip his memory, he's very particular about trifles.
Trifles?
Oh, I seem to have made an awful mess of things.
Oh, we know you didn't do it intentionally. Come, Jeffrey, dear, we had better go.
I hope you're not tired, and I do hope we shall meet again. I should like to hear you play Wagner on our church organ.
Oh, that's the last straw. Your wife trifles with my emotions. You outrage my sense of decency. Henrietta defies my independence, and now you cap it all with a request for Wagner on an organ. Do you realize that an 80-piece orchestra can only begin to interpret Wagner, and you ask for him on an organ? Where's my coat?
Minter has it, dear.
Come to dinner some night and bring your wife.
If we were on a desert island and you two had the only coconut, I wouldn't chew a piece of the fiber.
What a splendid fellow.
Oh, he's just splendid in his own way. Someday he will compose a symphony which even the critics will understand. Goodbye, Mrs. Bartlett.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr. Bartlett.
I'll see you to the door.
Oh, please don't trouble.
One day, next week, someone bring the gum with you.
I'll wait for a message from you.
I'll send Minter.
George, where did you get this chewing gum?
The woman tempted me, and I did eat.
Did she give it to you?
Yes, dear.
Ugh, the cat.
Now, don't get angry, darling.
I had far rather you had bought it yourself and been honest about it.
Oh,
Did you give this to Miss Tremaine?
certainly not.
I thought not. I caught her trying to get away with it. I didn't think she was that kind of person.
What are you putting it in there for?
That belongs there, doesn't it?
What makes you think that?
I ought to know. I've had enough of it.
Oh, Minter, here's your gun. Go shoot yourself.
If I did, your business would go to the devil. I'm the only lasting impression anyone ever gets from a consultation from you.
One moment, Minter. You are a witness that my husband lied to me. George, you shall pay for this. I shan't take you to the theater tonight.
Oh, dear.
I shall go and just to spite you, I shall sit by myself.
Oh, dear.
Perhaps I could be of assistance, Mrs. Bartlett.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Minter. You shall take me.
Oh, no. I object. I absolutely object to your going with Minter to the theater. You should have more regard for my feelings.
Had you any regard for my feelings when I found you chewing at my house with another man's wife?
Just the same, I absolutely refuse to let you go with Minter.
Oh, we shall see.
But think, dear.
Think what?
I shall have to answer the doorbell. Ah, dear. What an uneventful life.